Hey guys, Erin here with Remote Work Guides, and somebody recently asked me a great question about remote work, and it is, how do we overcome remote work barriers? What they mean by that is, how do we overcome a lot of the common challenges that remote workers face? And these are things like isolation, burnout, how do you find the proper tools? Because let's be honest, there are thousands of remote work tools out there. So today I'm going to talk about a couple of the common challenges, how to avoid them, and how you can totally rock working online with ease. Me again. Yeah, I just wanted to come in and say that remote work is so diverse that different people will face different challenges. Like, somebody who's working for a fully distributed company as a full employee is gonna have way different challenges than somebody who's a freelancer and who's finding work for themselves. So the video that I'm gonna cover today is gonna cover just some common major challenges that I think people face across the board. Okay, bye. First and foremost, I think it's super important that you find proper tools. Thanks to a rapid development in tech, remote workers now have access to thousands and thousands of tools online. But how do you know which one is right for you without wasting tons of time, energy, and money? And that's a great question because not every tool that's out there is primed for you or the type of work that you do. My advice to you is to take the time to identify the tools that you need and keep it to a bare minimum. So when you come across a tool that looks cool, maybe it's something as simple as a social media manager like Buffer or Hootsuite? Anyway, find the tool that you think you need and try their free trial. And think of it this way, you wouldn't buy a car without test driving it, so why would you buy a tool without test driving it too? You want to make sure that it 100% suits your needs. And as soon as you've identified that tool, you want to make sure that you're using it properly and that you use it 100% of the time. Why am I emphasizing just using one tool? That's because digital clutter is a real problem. And if you have hundreds of tools that you use for small projects, your life is going to be less about getting your work done and more about managing your tools. That's super annoying. It gets super cumbersome. And honestly, the clutter is real. So do yourself a favor right away. Keep everything to a minimal. So find the tools that are right for you, find the tools that are primed for your type of work only, and stick to those. Just let everything else go to the wayside. 2, communication challenges. The single largest hurdle that I see my virtual colleagues and clients deal with is how to communicate properly. Is it best to communicate with your clients or your teammates via email, phone call, text, Slack, smoke signals? Oh my God, my head is about to explode. As a general rule of thumb, text is best for a very simple question and answer. Voice is best for something that's really complicated. Perhaps you need to communicate a context or you know that this warrants a very long conversation. Email is best for general things that don't necessarily need an answer right away. This could be things like general administration, some back-end stuff that you can put on hold, or even something like booking a meeting. These things are not immediate. Shoot them in an email. Video chats are best when you need some FaceTime with your clients, and don't underestimate the power of some FaceTime while working remotely. It's a great way to inject some energy back into your conversation or feel like you're building a kind of rapport with your clients. And honestly, if you've never met them before, it's kind of cool to be able to put a face to the name. So I recommend that you take the time to speak to your clients or your colleagues and figure out a way that works best for you. Come up with a roadmap for communication so you guys are all on the same page. Me with a tip again. Video chat is so important because it keeps remote workers connected. It helps you feel a little less isolated, and it's also an amazing way to give your team updates on your work. In fact, we hear a lot of remote workers that work with distributed companies say things like, I don't know if they really value the work I'm doing, or sometimes I feel like my company forgets about me. The video is just another way for you at least once a week to be able to say, here's what I'm doing, give me some feedback, and stay in the loop. Number 3, isolation. As freeing as remote work can be, because all of a sudden you have a little more flexibility, it can also be very isolating, and we get that. In fact, Judy Hemmensley, the author of Work From Home, had a really good point in her book. She said, even if your personality makes you happy with your own company for long periods of time, you may not realize just how much you actually draw outside stimulation until it's no longer there. But don't fall into a pit of despair yet. There are actually tons of different ways we recommend remote workers to avoid isolation. These are things like joining social media groups where you can partake in group chats, engaging in real-time messaging with friends like a Slack chat. In fact, there are some public Slack chats that I'll drop in the link where you can just join and chat with other like-minded digital nomad or remote workers at your leisure. Video tools. Again, video tools are a huge help when it comes to feeling isolated, because if you're getting that FaceTime, it tends to help you feel a little less lonely. Co-working spaces, we love them. If you have a friend, go grab one and hop to a co-working space near you. I'll also drop a link down below in the description where you can find some great co-working spaces in your city. In-person meetups, this is actually a really great one. So you can look for things like meetup.com, Eventbrite, or Do Stuff. These are all great sites where you can type in your city, whether you live there full time or you happen to be passing through, and find some stuff that's going on. After work, after you're done working with your clients, pop over, meet some new people. I find when I do meetups, even when I'm traveling, I feel totally reinvigorated and I'm ready to rock work once again. Now, likewise, burnout is a huge issue with remote workers as well. This is when you feel like you're working and working your butt off and you are exhausted, but you can't sleep well and you could cry because you dropped your pen. Like, burnout is a real serious thing. And even though I've been working remotely for a couple years, I still feel burned out. Man, it ebbs and flows. So if you are feeling burned out too, don't feel bad. It's really easy for remote workers to feel burnout because it actually is easier for you to work longer hours than people in an office. Now, why is that, you ask? I'm glad you asked. It's because there's things like no commute. You can literally roll out of bed and start working if you wanted to. There's no commute home, so you don't necessarily have a 6 o'clock stop time. And in fact, if you're in a groove and you think, I'm just gonna work for a couple more minutes, you might glance up at the clock again 2 hours later and boom, you've been working for 14 hours. So burnout is a real thing, and it's a real thing to keep a real close eye on. My favorite thing to suggest to combat burnout is to set a schedule for yourself and to adhere to it. Just set a schedule that works for you, whether it's you get up in the morning and you work out and eat breakfast and then you start working, or maybe you get up in the morning and you start working right away. Just set some parameters for yourself. Maybe you don't work between the hours of 12 and 2 so you can take a lunch break. Maybe you don't answer emails after 5 p.m. Whatever works for you, just set that schedule and then stick to it as if somebody is forcing you to adhere to those hours. And finally, overcoming distractions. Whether you work at home or in an office, distractions are a reality. Fortunately, creating healthy work habits is the best way to crush those distractions. Consider finding a tool that helps you focus, like Take a Break. These are extensions that are timers, so when the timer goes off every 1 to 2 or however many hours you decide, you'll know to take a quick break, grab some water, do a quick stretch, and 5 minutes later, get back to work. You can also do things like set block schedules. This is something that I do for my clients. So between the hours of 10 and 12, I'm working on these 2 clients. And between 12 and 4, I'm working on these 2 clients. Creating dedicated blocks of focus is really great for me personally because I know that during that time, I'm gonna have deep periods of focus where distractions just aren't a reality. In fact, if a distracting thought pops into my mind during that time, I'll simply write it down somewhere. And I'll know, because of my block period of time, that when that block is over, I can go back to my list and check out those thoughts that popped into my head. It's just great to know that these thoughts that apparently are so important have their own time and place to be addressed. If you found any of these tips helpful, awesome. Leave us a comment, we wanna hear about it. Also on our website, remoteworkguides.com, we have a free 5-day course which covers a lot of these struggles. So if you're wondering how to find clients or overcome distractions or maintain a healthy lifestyle, like integrate some exercise into your remote work life, check out the course. Again, it's free, it's all via email, so you can do it at your own pace and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for watching.